Hey now, boys and girls. The Sharks pick up a 5-0 victory over the Vancouver Canucks. And yes, somebody did say Vancouver. We'll get to that in a minute. But we want to wish all of you a happy Veterans Day here on Hockey Night in San Jose. Eh? That's right. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Teal Town USA After Dark. Once again, the Sharks pick up a 5-0 victory over the Vancouver Canucks. I'm sorry, did somebody say Vancouver? And with that, of course, we go to the one and only Puck Guy live from SAP Center.
Yes, somebody did say Vancouver as the Vancouver Canucks get shut out by the San Jose Sharks 5-0. Yeah, guys, it was a great start, great finish. I mean, just an all-around good effort tonight. You saw Tomas Hertl with an opening goal 48 seconds in. Oh, the irony. Then you have Logan Couture with a shorthanded goal. You know, shorty because of John Shorthouse. He gets the another one, and then Chris Tierney with I think he's the third. I think we said off the air the third Sharks player in history to score two shorthanded goals in one game. To
Yes.
which I said I believe it's got to be a first that it's two shorthanded goals by the same player on the same penalty. That's got to be a first. Uncle Darren, if you're watching, let us know.
I would think
But
so. The first one, Jamie Baker in 1996 versus the Kings, and Marco Sturm in 2000 versus the Bruins.
very nice, very nice. Yeah, the atmosphere was very electric, especially since they got the goal early on. Aaron Dell, holy Macarena, you were delicious tonight. Over 40 saves on the night. If they weren't a back-to-back situation, I would say, maybe we could give Jonah another night off. But they're going against LA tomorrow night. Great, good on you for doing your job when you come in. It was all around a good night in the Shark Tank. The place was festive. Definitely saw some green and gold in there with the A's mashup night. Definitely brought out some A's fans for sure. But yeah, all around, guys, it was a good evening, and 3 goals within the last 2 minutes and a first goal within the first minute of the game. That's always a good recipe for a great night for professional men's ice hockey in Teal Town, USA.
Yeah, you got to be thinking that after Hurdle scores within the first minute. Oh, let me hold on. Let me go to your camera. Very nice.
Yes.
Do me a favor. Have somebody else pick me up one of those. But after what happened, after what we saw versus Tampa Bay, I think we're all kind of like, oh, here we go again. Another goal scored in the first minute of the game. And then we're going to see the Sharks have an abysmal second period and get completely outshot. But this time, the Sharks hung tough and were able to not give up 3 goals in the second frame, but actually pulled a shorty out of their back end.
Like John Shorthouse. Shorty.
Oh, man. They had to get a shorthanded goal when it's a team that Shorthouse does. Oh, my
Right,
Lord.
and of course it's 3 of them, which I think has to be a franchise record for a game. Again, Uncle Darren, if you're watching, let us know. But yeah, all around a good night, a good bounce back game after they got handed soundly loss from Tampa Bay. Now that gives them confidence to go into LA and just have a great kick-ass game and try to cut that deficit from the Kings and the Golden Knights and get back into this playoff race. I know it's November, but I mean, we can't fall behind too much.
Yeah, absolutely. For those of you joining in, watching us on the YouTube, don't forget to subscribe. Follow us on all our social media channels, be it Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, of course. Subscribe. Make sure you turn on your little notifications. And please, follow at Tealtown USA on Twitter. We're only just a few follows away from 2,000, something we'd like to happen by Thanksgiving if possible. So, and if you like the T-shirts, by all means, bringhockeyback.net. Go grab one.
Quantities are limited, so get them now. They'll make a great Christmas gift.
That's all I'm saying. So, with that, do you have any more to let us in on, or is it time to move on?
No, no, I that's pretty much it from the Shark Tank. It's a good night, and of course, sending our best to you, Bakes. We love you. Whatever's going on with you, we have your back, and well wishes to you, good sir. Much love to you,
Absolutely.
Bakes.
Absolutely. Oh my God, here come the boo birds.
Oh man, we really miss Worcester, Massachusetts. That's what it's all about.
Oh, dear Lord.
And with that, I'll send it to you and Alex. You guys have a great night. I might come back on a little bit later.
Sounds good. Oh, stop with the wooing.
It's the worst thing I hate about it.
They love the desert dogs here. Apparently, I don't know.
Oh, dear
Are those
Lord.
Vancouver fans, or are they
AJ,
just the desperate Sharks fans?
No comment.
They're just happy Sharks fans.
They're happy Sharks fans and sad Vancouver fans.
They're happy and ignorant Sharks fans. That's what I can say.
And with that, I will see you guys a little later. Have a good night, and off you guys go. Have a great one, guys.
All right, man. Take it easy, brother.
Later.
So, this was a fun one. We'll get you to your chat questions in a minute. Don't want you to think that we're not paying attention, but I'm kind of dialing around, moving stuff.
I'm monitoring it. I'm seeing what people are talking about. But for the most part, it's Dell as well as the first star of the game.
Of course.
Yeah. Was that the first shootout or shutout of the season for the Sharks?
No, New Jersey.
New Jersey.
Jones got a 3-0 decision in New Jersey. This is Aaron Dell's second career shutout.
Yeah.
So good on him. This is a funny one. Just seeing that goal from Hurdle in the first minute of the first frame, I just went, oh well, we did this last time, and we all know how that worked out. Not so great, but instead of giving up 5, they score 5 in this one, so that was bizarre. The thing that kind of stuck out for me, the second period, the Sharks holy cannoli, man. They grossly outshot in the second period. It ended up being 14-6, but at one point it was 13-2. It was just kind of like, what is going on? For the final in it, they were outshot 41-31. So not your best effort in that regards. Wasn't the I don't know.
I like both teams. Like just like the last game versus Tampa Bay, both teams had equal amount of rest. Sharks had 3 games of rest compared to Vancouver, where they had 2 games of off rest. So I don't think this was much of an issue. Both teams had enough time to schedule and see what works and what doesn't work against each other. I did find it kind of interesting that Peter Bauer kind of was playing around with the third and fourth line, trying to see if he can figure out a combination. Towards the end of the first period, he settled with Hansen, Goodrow, and Bodker, and that seemed like that was a solid line that had some speed. And Hansen and Bodker really worked together as a left wing, right wing combination. And Tierney got moved down to the fourth line, but I felt that stabilized the fourth line, which helped build momentum towards the first line. So I think that's something he might be looking to do in the future now.
To me, that this also brings up the point too of, do you think? Is Goodrow slowly working his way onto this club? Because he's been in the DeBoer doghouse for months, and now the Sharks are so bizarrely enough thin at center now that Hurdle's up playing wing, Pavelski's playing wing. What are you going to? And Carpenter not really getting it done. And I don't want to get into a whole nother thing about Carpenter, please. So don't at me. But I'm just saying that when he was out there, that line wasn't doing a whole bunch of anything.
I don't want to say it's not because Carpenter is not a great player. It's because the Sharks don't have enough scoring, and the Sharks are a great defensive team.
Yes,
and that's the issue. And I don't think the Sharks can live off of 2 goals a game. I think what you should somewhat aim for is 3 to 4, and luck like that should be 3 should be the minimum. But
Three used to be the magic number for this team. If they could pot
Yeah.
three, they had a ridiculous record. And what's funny is Vancouver, funnily enough, right now this season, they're the same way. When they pot three, they have they're like 7-1. But when they don't pot three, then they're like 2-8-1 or something. I mean, it's not a good record.
According to ESPN, the Sharks are 26th per goals per game. So, there's a lot of There's a lot of room for improvement. Our penalty kill is second in the league now. That's going to be our strongest point, our strength, and that might be something that helps us get into or helps us down the stretch because of how many penalties are called now in the because of slashing. Even though I don't really particularly think that most of them are legit penalties, or I think most of them are somewhat weak, but that's a kind of a topic for another discussion, I guess.
Yeah, I can feel that.
Yeah.
But this was, to me, this is a really good bounce back game when you consider how terrible the Sharks were when Tampa Bay was in town. So good. Now, granted, Vancouver, not the Tampa Bay of the West when it comes to record and speed and skill and whatnot. I mean, obviously, big kudos to Bor Horvat, Besser. I mean, those guys are the future, clearly, of Vancouver. I mean, they have some skill there, but it's not, the house that the Sedins built any longer.
I still think Vancouver is going to be down there by the stretch because the NHL is built on speed now. And that's what Vancouver has stockpiled of speed of forwards and defensemen that can move on transition. So if they get some solid goaltending, and I don't think their goaltending is quite there yet, if they get some solid goaltending, they might be a team that is a team that takes a couple of points away. Tampa Bay, that they're going to be the class of the East, along with Pittsburgh. And that was a game that probably put us back a peg about who we are as contenders. I don't think we are in that elite status quite yet. Maybe we might get there, but we're just not at that point yet. I was kind of impressed also by Timo. Timo had a strong first period. He hit the post early in the first. It would have been 2-0 ending the first, but he seemed like he was moving the puck along, not causing many turnovers. He helped, got a couple of turnovers that went away, and he just seemed like he was moving the puck and helping to create some chances on the offensive end. That didn't really seem like maybe that was just based on Vancouver's talent, but he seemed like he was in the zone today.
Yeah, no, I'm completely with you on that. This just, I don't know. I'm at that point where I'm like, okay, nice bounce back game, but don't want to get too high because Vancouver is not St. Louis. Vancouver is not Tampa Bay. So you can't get too high, but a nice bounce back. Great bounce back for Aaron Dell, who has been shelled the last two starts that he had, both against the New York Islanders. So nice to see Aaron Dell get some confidence back in his game.
I do want to. I noticed on chat that Skylar Greenberg posted that Pavelski's time on ice was only 15 minutes, which is kind of surprising. What's interesting note about today. Usually he's in the 17-18 range.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's nursing some injury to that degree, but it seems like it's a pretty noticeable time on ice difference than he usually is.
Absolutely. So, I mean, again, you can't get too crazy, but let's get into the numbers a little bit. And excuse me.
Let's go crazy.
No, it's just excuse me while I whip this power play drum out.
I'm gonna be back in like 10 minutes.
There you go. I mean, the Sharks 0 for 4 on the power play yet again. I mean, we keep on hearing them talk about it. These guys, if you consider it, I mean, they've had this week, right? I don't want to, I shouldn't say week, but this kind of very sparse schedule where it's game on Wednesday, game on Saturday, game on Wednesday, game on Saturday. I mean, 2 weeks, that is a lot of, and all of that time, all at home. That is a lot of time that you have available to work on your power play. And I'll be the first to admit, during the first power play, or the first in the first period, the power play time in the first period, it did seem changed up. It was kind of like, oh, this is different. You don't see, Thornton's hip attached to the sideboards, and they seem to be moving some pieces around and trying some new things. And it seemed like it was working. Like they were getting some interesting shots. But as soon as the second period came in and they got the power play again, but it was like, oh, right back to old habits. There's Thornton's ass glued to the sideboards, and everybody we're taking the low percentage shots from the point that it's one shot, ricochet, boom. Now it's going the other way.
First two power plays, Thornton was in the middle of the ice. He was blocking the goalie. He was screening the goalie pretty well. It's just, I don't know about this power play. It always goes back to Burns, and Burns. People have figured out the playbook with Burns. Have your defenseman or center rush up and block it, and that creates more opportunities than the PK. We keep on asking for just something different, and it doesn't seem like there's nothing really being changed. Deja vu. But even if you look, if our power play is horrendous, but it's still 18th in the league. So I was thinking about this watching the game, how necessary is a power play in hockey anymore? And for me, a bad power play is if it just kills momentum. Of course, if there's an empty net or a shorthand goal, that is totally devastating. But how bad is it? What's the point of a power play anymore? Is it 6-on-4? Is it 5-on-3? Can we? I think they need to start reevaluating what a power play is. It's just not working out as well as it used to.
No, I get that. I'm just they got to do something, because it can make a difference at the right point. Again, I don't expect, everybody says, oh, AJ constantly beating his goddamn power play drum. They're not going to score every power play. I've never said that. I just want to say, tonight, they go 0 for 4. I don't think asking 1 for 4 is out of the question. 1 for 5 I don't think that's necessarily too much to hope for. I'm sorry, people, but I don't. And there are times that we've seen in past games that one power play goal could have made a huge difference. And so, anyway, there you go. And with that, we are, of course, joined by Ian Reed from Teal Tinted Glasses.
Hello, everybody.
Hey.
This is fun.
By here from popular demand in the chat.
Yes.
Is that how the chat works? They just call in someone in the chat and they just.
Ian is the Beetlejuice of this show.
Pretty much.
So, what did you see tonight?
I was kind of frustrated with this game a little bit. I thought without Aaron Dell that this is a very different game. The Sharks had a really good first period, but that second and third, despite the final score, you would think that San Jose just rolled them, but I thought Vancouver played a really, really good game.
Absolutely. All right, thanks for joining us. We'll see. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, no, you look at the shots on goal. 41 shots on goal from Vancouver, out shooting in the second period at one point 13-2. Vancouver tried to throttle the Sharks very much like Tampa did just a couple of days ago, where it's we're going to overtake this in the second period, but they could not solve Dell. Thank God.
Yeah, thankfully. Dell got a couple of lucky breaks there. He had that spinning save, which I'm not sure what that was, but I'll take it.
All right. And we did have a Starfish defensive sighting tonight. Those are always fun.
Yeah, Brent Burns. He's so you can tell he's frustrated at this point. I think you can see he's gripping the stick too hard. I think he needs to just relax a little bit and just let the goal come. It'll come. It's going to happen. He's Brent Burns. He's not going to be scoreless all season. He just needs to relax and let it happen organically, I think, instead of trying to force it, which I feel like he's been doing the last few games.
Absolutely. And you look at Hurdle tonight. Hurdle only his third goal of the season. I think you talk to most people, they thought, maybe he's up to at least 6 or 7 by now. And Hurdle, God love him. Where did he get that goal? From the dirty spot, right? Right in the crease, right in that area. Like to see the Sharks, crash the net a little bit more. But Burns, yeah, God love him. At this point, that's like the power play is so predictable, and Burns is so frustrated. Like I'd like to see them switch something up that maybe where Heat is kind of playing that high point position that Burns is usually in, and I'm not sure who you put on the other side, but park Burns' ass in front of the goalie like they used to do with Dustin Byfuglien, you know? Let him work on. I mean, obviously Pavelski great at those tip shots, but maybe that's something. Get Burns out of his comfort zone or something. Maybe that unlocks something for him, Alex.
I mean, Burns has 8 assists, but the thing that I'm really cautious about with Burns is that how many turnovers per game Burns does. He has over 33 turnovers in just 14 games.
And doesn't he lead the team in like a -8 right now?
-9 or -8.
Oh,
Yeah.
oy.
But like 33 is number 3 in the league. And that's just not acceptable. Like
for a Norris Trophy winner.
and I'm not going to bang the drum for forward. I'm not going to do that again. You have to reevaluate. Did he earn the Norris Trophy, or was Erik Karlsson the one to get over Burns that year? And you have to start reevaluating his performance based on this year and looking back on his Norris campaign. Yeah, he had the fantastic first half of the year, but he slumped when defenses adjusted to what he was doing. I don't know if he was hurt or not. It just seems like there's not enough adjustments being made by the coaching staff or by Burns himself, because he just makes these boneheaded plays on offense where he just turns the puck in the neutral zone. It just doesn't make much sense.
Mm-hmm. Completely agree. Let me check in with the chat real quick. I feel like we've neglected them for a little bit. How was the crowd tonight? Saw many empty seats from Steve. I wasn't there, but that's something if Puck Guy jumps back on later, he can obviously attest to. On TV, unfortunately, looked like there were some patches of empty seats. Now, again, I want to preface that with that's not to say that those tickets weren't sold and just not used, but obviously the optics not the greatest. And this was a promotional night where it was, buy a special ticket and you got a co-branded Athletics Sharks shirt. So wonder if that goosed anything in that. I haven't seen the ESPN update that usually will post what the attendance was. Nope, I'm sorry. It has been updated, and it does say that it was a full house tonight. So, okay. Anyway, let me see. Laurel, I'm always working on your OCD, hon. I'm always working on that for you. Let me see. Where does Ghost AJ drink? At a Boo Bar. No? Wow, that sucked. I clearly need to drink more if I'm going to try to be funny. Let me see. Any other size but large left? Unfortunately, no. We love Bring Back Hockey, but they had like a set order, and they won't bring in more different sizes for Teal Town USA shirts until they sell out of the remaining stock, which is the largest. So if you're a large or know somebody who is, Christmas is right around the corner. Who doesn't want a Teal Town USA shirt?
I love my Teal Town USA shirt. I'm just saying. I wear it all the time.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Any word on Jamie Baker? Okay, so for those of you who weren't paying attention earlier, the Sharks did put out a press statement just before the game started tonight, talking about how Baker's going to be taking a leave of absence to deal with a personal matter. Somebody had also pointed out that he's been kind of like Twitter silent for the last few days, just basically social media silent for the last week, which is unlike Baker if you follow any of his accounts. So, yeah, it does. I mean, everybody can speculate. I've heard nothing. I know I've spoken with no one who knows anything. So, and I know it's so trite and cliche, but thoughts and prayers. I mean, like I'm not saying that mocking Baker in any way. I'm mocking the whole idea of, you know, that seems to be the trite cliche thing. Thoughts and prayers.
Is it
Yeah,
wrong?
Ian, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, is it wrong that the first thing I like with everything going on lately, I'm like, oh God, Baker, please don't have grabbed someone's ass.
Oh, dude. And you know what, dude, you're not wrong. It,
I don't think Baker would do that, but I'm just like with everything going on lately, and then it's just like suddenly Baker's on a leave of absence, like, oh God, please not Baker too.
yeah, no, and that's the funny thing. In fact, what was it? There was somebody who posted, maybe it was like an Onion article, but you're seeing. I mean, okay, I swear to God, I'm going to dial this back in 30 seconds, people in the chat. We're going to go away from this whole Hollywood politic thing. But
Sorry.
no, it's just no. The thing is, it's like you keep seeing like whether it's Louis C.K. or Richard Dreyfuss or what, you know, like Hollywood d-bag after d-bag keeps coming out, and then the best thing was somebody tweeted out something like and just coming out. Tom Hanks treated me like the nicest person ever. You know, like everybody in Hollywood is a douche, but Tom Hanks should be president is pretty much what it was. Like he's the only respectable guy out of the whole party. But anyway, I digress. We'll move on.
Absolutely.
Right. And of course somebody also speculate like as soon as like Jamie Baker on leave of absence, immediately Twitter was aflutter with, does that mean Remenda's coming back? You know, I was like, oh, here we go. Here we go.
I wish Baker all the best. He's been nothing but professional. And I've met him a couple of times, and he's been amazing guy to talk to you about hockey. He'll take the time to sign whatever you want. Drew is fine. He's okay. He's okay in Edmonton, even though I've heard people don't really care for his work
dude, we've had at least one or two people on from an Edmonton podcast, and they're like, "Oh my God, please take Drew back. We hate him."
Right? Yeah. Trent's awesome. I love Trent, but yeah, he's like, take him back.
Yeah, and I don't even understand why. I mean, obviously, I don't watch a lot of. I don't. What am I talking? I don't watch any Oiler. I just don't. I don't. Who has the time? But. I would love to watch some Edmonton games and listen to Drew call that just to find out why Edmonton Oilers fans are so incensed over his call. But, you know, here in San Jose, we, you know, still love the guy. So,
yeah, wish him all the best for him and his family, if that's the case. All the best going forward.
Yeah. So, is there any else to get into this? I'll tell you, I mean, there's one guy who kind of stood out in this game for me from Vancouver, and that's Michael Del Zotto. But then again, I've been a fan of that guy since he was back in New York because he's kind of he's not a flashy player by any stretch. He kind of reminds me of like a defensive Mike Ricci, that he's just going to go out there, he's going to give you what he has. It might not be the best, but he's going to give you exactly what he has. And it's usually what a specific team needs in that situation. Not to mention the dude really helped me in my fantasy league like 5 years ago. But I mean, is there anybody else I mean, we obviously talked about Besser. We talked about Bo Horvat. Boar. That would be a good name. Just Boar. I like that. But I mean, Del Zotto. Is there anybody else that stood out to you? Shenanigans, good play, whatever. Either of you guys? Whoever turns on their mic first.
I thought, I mean, I think you pretty much covered it. I thought that I think Louis Eriksson actually had an okay game considering how long he was injured for, and he's just kind of getting back into the swing of things. So I think Louis Eriksson kind of stood out for me. Just
and led the Canucks and
used to be getting back into stride.
Led the Canucks in shots tonight too.
Yeah.
Alex, anybody for you stand out from the Canucks?
No, not really. So I'm just gonna keep it 100. But
I said nah, f those guys.
But like, I was impressed by Carlson's play today. I thought he was a solid forward on. Yeah, I just figured his game just is getting better and better. He's a +2, and you just see him getting better and better. I don't know if that's because he was playing with Couture a couple of times on the wing. Yeah, they keep experimenting, either putting him on Couture or Hurdle, but I just like his game, and he's been getting a lot better this season.
And it's always a something to note when the opposing team's play-by-play and color guy have something good to say about you. And during part of the game tonight, I was listening to the Canucks feed, and the color guy, I don't know who it is, so don't kill me. Don't usually listen to Canucks broadcasts, but overheard them talking about Carlson. Carlson, about 6'1", 190, 185. And some days plays like he's 6'3", 220. So I mean that's a great thing to for somebody to say about your game, that you play bigger than you are, because that's how much you're bringing to the game.
For me, I know this doesn't really have much to do with Carlson, but when they sent down LeBanc, it felt like they were choosing for this season. I'm not too sure if in the future they're going to have both up, but for this season, it felt like they were choosing between LeBanc and Carlson because of how thin LeBanc is. It just feels like LeBanc is more of an offensive minded guy who doesn't really have that defensive capabilities at the moment. When compared to Carlson, he seems like he's a utility player. You can play on the PK, he can fill on the sits. He can do a lot of different things for you compared to LeBanc's sharpshooter role.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I'm sure we're going to see LeBanc pretty soon from the Barracuda. He's going to get called up. I've heard he's done pretty well since then, since being called down.
Well, and Ian would be able to speak to that. He watches a lot of CUDA.
What's the question?
Just how's LeBanc looked since he's been sent down?
4 points in 2 games. He had 3 assists in the first game, and he had a goal today.
What a lazy bastard today. What is he taking Veterans Day off? Is Alex in an Apple store?
I saw that.
Wow. Oh, that was great.
I would have offered you a discount, but you're being a dick.
Oh, that was awesome. I'm a little interested to see what they end up doing. A guy who was doing nothing for me tonight was Jannik Hansen, and you would think he'd have a little fire and some sort of fire coming out of his ass playing his old team.
I thought he was doing pretty well. I thought he had a spark between Hansen and Bacher. They had a setup pass in the first period between Hansen and Bacher for a breakaway goal, but it didn't work out. But you saw that chemistry between them.
Maybe it's just that when they brought Hansen in, I think we were sold a bill of goods as Sharks fans that this is going to be the guy that was going to solve the Joes, or something along those lines.
Which was really a miscasting to begin with.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I didn't really know much about Hansen, but I knew he was a speed guy, and it just doesn't seem like that was quite the player we got.
I'm gonna find. Look, guys. You guys need to lay off Alex. I'm gonna find a picture of when I first started doing shows and the bareness that was behind me, and then you guys can leave poor Alex alone.
Yes, I'm looking at the chat, people. I can see all your damn comments.
You know what I'm gonna do? I swear to God, I want to send this to Alex. This is like literally the only thing hanging behind him. Is this little tiny banner?
That's how it starts, man. And then next thing you know, bang.
That's it. Just a small little banner hanging on this stark white wall. Where does the Hansen trade rank in DW worsts?
Not even anywhere in the facility.
I think that has to go with in context, because the Hansen deal was that a trade deadline deal? It wasn't, was it?
It was like a week before. It was near the before. Yeah.
It was close enough.
It was close enough that it could be considered like
a deadline deal
in the same breath as like Billy Campbell or Bill Guerin.
Yeah, but at the same time, what did you give up for him? You gave up Goldobin in what? Second?
Fourth.
I was going to say I don't think it was that high.
Yeah, it was fourth.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Goldobin's still playing in Utica.
Yeah.
He couldn't crack the roster to start the season. I love Nikolai Goldobin, but I mean,
conversely,
game.
Well, I was going to say, conversely, though, Hansen's been scratched more, a few times this season already, and you would think after a summer that he would hopefully find some sort of chemistry with somebody at this point. And
Yeah.
It seemed like the Hansen, Goodrow, and Bodker line is something that was, working in the first and second period. I guess what was most worrying was the Shark kind of fell asleep in the second period. You just saw these 2-on-1, 3-on-1. I don't know what was going on. It just seemed like Vancouver's speed got the best of the Sharks, and we should have been down or at least tied coming after the second period.
That's why I pointed out that to me this game had it threw in some memories for me from the game Wednesday versus Tampa, where we get the opening goal in the first minute of the game and play well in the first.
Right.
It could have been 2-0 in the first. I mean, don't forget that Burns threw one off the pipe. Meyer it wasn't at the end of the first. Meyer put one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was almost a snipe shot. I mean, if Markstrom doesn't get just the tiniest little sliver of that, it's probably behind him. So could have been 2-0. But you're absolutely right. Like, I don't know what they're doing. Like if they turn the dressing room into a hookah lounge in the first intermission, but they come out slow in the second lately.
I mean, Vancouver's been like they're not a juggernaut by any stretch, but I mean they've been holding their own in the division, much to the surprise of I think almost everybody. I mean, this is a team that for the most part, they don't give you much. Like when you're in the offensive zone, they don't give you much, and they quickly can turn that around on you. And we've seen the Sharks kind of been vulnerable to that kind of a system before. Vancouver doesn't really have the players to exercise it to its maximum potential, like let's say a Pittsburgh can. But I mean, but they can, but they're still playing that style. So if they can get the manpower, I mean they're going to be kind of a scary team at some point.
Did they sign
getting guys like Bosser and you get guys like Besser in there, and you got guys like Olioyavi that will just fit perfectly into that system when he's ready to go.
Yeah, but did they sign any free agents or anything that was second or third line free agents?
They signed Vanek, right? They signed Vanek.
Yeah,
I remember being really critical of that because of thinking that they would be in more of a rebuild mode this year. I know I wrote a ton about Vancouver this summer, and one of the things was Vanek taking a spot away from like an upper comer, but so far it's worked.
And did they get anything for Ryan Miller?
No,
Ryan Miller left as a free agent.
Yeah. Okay. So there you go.
I think I like what Vancouver is doing now. I think if they don't have enough playing time where you're seeing the development, you're seeing how to win on ice, then I don't think that's a great. They don't want to become the Niners essentially.
Nobody wants that. Morocco 323 in the chat saying Goldobin has been tearing it up in the AHL, 14 points in 12 games.
He tore it up on the CUDA too.
Yeah, I was gonna say, good on you, but until he proves that he can do that in an NHL level and care more about playing hockey than going to the beach, then we'll discuss. But we are in that weird fluid Pacific division where going into tonight, Vancouver was third and the Sharks were sixth. And now 4 hours later, San Jose is third and Vancouver's in fifth. So, and if I remember correctly, I do believe the Sharks have one or two teams have one game, a couple other teams, 2 games in hand. And of course, how could you not when you play 4 games over 2 weeks?
Right.
I mean, bizarre schedule, not to mention the fact that we're on this weird stretch where 8 of 9 games are played at the Tank. I mean, just a really weird switch. You can make tons of plans to be away from the Tank in January because the Sharks sure as shit ain't going to be here. This is a weird schedule this year, guys.
Laurel in the chat just tweeted out my before and after wall picture, so you guys can leave Alex alone.
now I have to look at this.
Yeah, there you go. So take a peek at that.
So Skyler writes, are the Sharks better offensive terms or offensive teams this year compared to last year, or sticking to defensive style of today?
Is there that much of a difference between last season and this season? I mean, really?
I think the Sharks are fine. Like, if the Sharks actually play their system, like, as much as I get on the coaching staff, like, for the most part, the system is sound. Like, Peter DeBoer's system's pretty sound, and I think that if they stick to it and they stay within it, then they'll have success. But
you are amazing.
but
I mean,
this team doesn't have the power. Again, this team doesn't have the manpower to run and gun. They can't play run and gun hockey. They don't have the firepower.
yeah. And I mean, what's the key piece that's different from last year than this year? Obviously, Patrick Marleau. And not to you can't dissuade that, because I mean Marlowe's doing very well in Toronto, right? I mean, where's he at now? 7 goals, I think.
7 or 8.
7
Yeah.
or 8, yeah.
So I mean, that's, now to put that in perspective, Hurdle's only on his 3rd. You know, playing in a similar situation. Couture now kind of helping pick up that slack. Couture's scored his 10th tonight, albeit on his 9th and his 10th. You know, poor bastard. He can't score even strength, or with the, you know, he's got to either score shorthanded or empty net. That's
Right.
I think that in large part, I don't think the forwards are the issue. It's the centers, and this goes back to Joe Thornton.
the fact that we don't have any.
No, I just Joe Thornton is having trouble skating, and Peter Pabor has made some comments about how he's going to have some rest days throughout the season. That means we're going to have 5 or 6 centers per line. It just feels like Thornton is slowing down the Sharks, and that's not how that's not where the trend of the NHL is going. As a big Joe Thornton fan, I love his passing. It's just getting him set up is anchoring the team in a way.
I mean, I've said it earlier.
Well,
I think this is Thornton's last year with the Sharks.
I with the Sharks or in the NHL? Because
with the Sharks. I'm sure there will be another team that will, you know, there's always, I mean, Dallas took Niemi, for Christ's sakes. There's going to be somebody who'll take Thornton.
Niemi, I'm not even going to go down that route with you.
Well, you know what I mean, but I'm just saying there's always somebody out there to like maybe go, well, let's just give it a shot. But then conversely, you can say, where's Iginla playing this year? You know what I mean?
I get what you're saying. It's just you can't put Thornton on Toronto because that style, he doesn't play that style. He doesn't. That team would not work for Thornton. That team is built for speed, and that's why Marleau works for Toronto.
I'm not. Yeah. I'm not saying that. Yeah, that he'd go there. I'm just saying it wouldn't surprise me if this is Thornton's last season. But I want to see where the Sharks are as well at the trade deadline. You know, are they out of the playoff picture and trending downward, and they try to find a place on a playoff team? They kind of maybe pull like a deal that Boston pulled with Colorado, and you know, the whole Ray Bourque thing, try to move Thornton to a team that has what they consider the best option to get him a cup, or you know, or let him walk like they did with Marleau. You know, it sure would have been nice to get. I mean, at least the Sharks got something for Niemi. They got nothing from Marleau.
In December, the Sharks have six home games, 7 away games, and then there's in January there's 9 away games, 4 home games. And those 2 months, I think you're gonna see less Thornton, and you're gonna see more of the Sharks youth that's just not ready for the NHL quite yet. You know, I don't know what you do.
That's what I think is so funny. That's what I think is so funny. Is that going to be a case of where Thornton, they're going to like sit Thornton for a game, and it's not necessarily, well, I guess it kind of is a slam on his play, you know, but it's obviously not the same as when they scratch, you know, like a DeMello or something, or a Carpenter. But is it a case of giving him a rest day? Does that mean Pavelski slots into the center role and he's up there with, I don't know, Donskoy and, I mean, Carlson, Bodker?
I'm looking up his stats, how many turnovers he's had this season.
But it's just funny. You look at the lineup and it's like, we have centers on the team. It's just they're playing wing.
Thornton has 22 turnovers compared to Burns' 33, and he's minus 10 in terms of difference, takeaways, and turnovers. So,
but I'm just saying that, like, you remember just a couple seasons ago, we talked about the 3-headed monster down the middle that was Thornton, Couture, and Pavelski. And they could never find a winger to fit with Thornton's, but Pavelski worked. Okay, we'll make him a winger.
And we're not talking about Pavelski, but he only played 15 minutes, and there could be something there. Whatever that is, 15 minutes is not a lot of ice time. And Sunday they do play. That's tomorrow. They play the Kings. So they could have been saving him for the Kings, but that's – I don't know what you do. That's –
yeah. I mean, but maybe it's a fact of DeBoer looking at it, knowing that they're going to play tomorrow on the road, and saying, we're up 2-0 right now after 2 periods, and maybe bringing back his ice time a little bit in the third. Obviously, if they were up like 3 or 4-0 going into the third, you can go, well, yeah, they're going to rest him because they've got a nice lead. But the fact that they didn't score the third, fourth, and fifth goal until the last 2 minutes of the game makes you kind of wonder. But maybe DeBoer felt fine or was confident enough in having a 2-goal lead at that point, and maybe if the Canucks net one early in the third, maybe Pavelski does play more time. And does Pavelski Pavelski doesn't kill penalties, does he?
I wouldn't
usually know.
No.
Yeah, so and maybe that had something to do with the fact that that because the Sharks, they gave up 5 power plays tonight. Yeah, so that's 10 minutes of time that Pavelski's not going to be out there anyway. I'm just spitballing here, guys.
There's a lot of talk about switching the lines. I don't think you have to change the line so much. I mean, if you have Couture's line going out there and eating more ice time than the other lines, I mean, it doesn't really matter what line you call what line, right? I don't know.
No, I am not the spy for the Kings. I don't know who.
Oh, all over you today.
What the hell does that even mean?
Look at. Let's not forget, as this Remembrance Day or Veterans Day, that this was the guy that predicted the Kings in 7.
Let me see here. Boy, a lot of love for Brendan Dillon. There is no A in Brendan, people, but a lot of love
or something.
No, a lot of love for Brendan Dillon. So
actually, Brendan Dillon's been. He's never gonna be a top pair all-star defenseman, but I don't think he's been as bad as he gets. I think it's like an easy narrative. Oh well, Brendan Dillon, but I feel like this year he's actually been pretty good, and I don't know if it's because they put it I don't know if Tim Heed has been just a good pair for him or what the deal is. But I when people say that Dillon should be shipped out of town so that Ryan can stay, I don't think Dillon's the guy you want to move.
Yeah. And I would completely agree with that. I think, it's funny. Everybody knows, not a Dillon fan by any stretch, but it seemed like Schlemko helped him out significantly last season. He started off a little rocky this year, but for some reason, Heed has become like the Dillon whisperer, the way Martin was with Brent Burns. So, hey, if that way, if you find chemistries with guys, hey, break out your Bunsen burner and make something, man. Good chemistry, let it rip.
Dillon has been the best Sharks defenseman in the first 13 games. And I know Velasquez's been hurt, but Burns hasn't been the best. And I think that
I was going to say, hold on. Dillon's been the best defenseman since we started. Hasn't he?
No, like the first 14 games. That's all I'm just the way he's been performed.
I don't know if I'd say best, but I'd say most consistent.
Ryan wrong.
I'd say most consistent.
Consistent, yeah, fine. That's like the key attribute for a defenseman, though.
I'll give you that.
But yeah, in the chat, I saw someone saying about Paul Martin hasn't, or DeMello is going to get traded. I don't think that's going to happen because Martin has no trade clause. And I don't know what you do about DeMello. I know, Ian, you're a big fan of his.
I mean, for me right now, I think DeMello would be my sacrificial lamb because he and Ryan have both so seamlessly fit in that. I mean, I would if I'm Doug Wilson, I'm buying out Paul Martin at the end of the season and giving Ryan a spot because I think, in my opinion, Ryan's been. I know you've been saying Dillon's the best. In my opinion, I think Joakim Ryan, considering the fact that this is his rookie season in the NHL, is really he's been so consistent, so solid, so steady. I can't find a flaw in his game.
I would venture to say that under the Doug Wilson era, and quite possibly under the entire Sharks, I mean, since the franchise has been in existence, he and Ryan seem to have been brought up most like the best way possible. We saw Mike Rathje rushed. We saw Mirko Mueller rushed. I mean, Vlasic maybe, but Vlasic, I mean, geez, Louise. I mean, Jesus Christ. He came out of junior high ready to play in the NHL. I mean, that dude was ready. So, but it just seems like Ryan and Heat are two guys that you can point at and say, these guys were developed correctly, given time, given patience, and have flourished with that, rather than what we saw with a Mirko Mueller or maybe a Matt Carl.
Right.
Has DeMello shown those flashes, or he's mostly just been a Barracuda prospect?
No, you know what? It's funny because like DeMello's been a guy who's like always just been like at the door, in my opinion. Like, it just seems like he's trying to walk out the door and there's just people just throwing stuff in his way so he can't get through. Like
has anybody
I feel
noticed?
Like ready.
I'm sorry. Just has anybody noticed that Dylan's game has progressively gotten better since that Budweiser commercial? Dilly dilly, like no.
I have to go Google this now.
I blame this on Rocket.
This is likely Rocket's fault. You're right.
Dilly dilly. All right. Well, let's
get back to the game, or
let's just kind of start to wind this down. So
we should.
We've got 33 watching now. So again, do us a favor, please. If you enjoy the show, hit the subscribe button wherever the hell it might be. I don't know. I don't work here. And so help us out. Hit notifications. It'll alert you every time we're on, which is after every Sharks game. And follow us on Twitter at TealTownUSA. We're only like 20 away from hitting 2,000, so we'd like to hit that as soon as possible. So share it with a friend if you would. They'll tell two friends, and they'll tell two friends, and blah, 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 blah. So tomorrow night, guys, down in L.A., of course, they saved Marty Jones for that game because, hello, it's L.A. L.A., dominating the Pacific. I don't know that anybody thought that was going to happen. Now, I haven't looked. I haven't had the chance to look at LA's schedule, so I will put it to you guys if you've paid attention. We've seen it where the Sharks, I mean, tonight was like their third, I want to say. Let me look at this. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, their third game in their own division, a month and a half into the season, which is kind of odd. Has LA played a lot in the division, or are they kind of in the same realm? Because I haven't had a chance to look at their schedule.
No, I feel like they've been in the same boat because generally if you're coming through San Jose, you're going to LA next.
Yeah. Or vice versa.
Or vice versa, right. So I feel like I feel like they've been about the same.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. A lot of East Coast teams. They played the Ducks on Wednesday. Again, not a lot. This is going to be our second matchup, and they kind of killed us. But
well, I was going to say there's a little bit of payback because just over a month ago we hosted the LA Kings. They chased Marty Jones out of the net, 4-1 loss, and it was not pretty.
Yeah, it's one of the few games I didn't watch this year, but I wasn't here. I didn't get my predictions going into the season, but I did have the Kings taking the wild card or being the top 3 because I just figured Quick was going to be in the net. Quick is still one of the best goaltenders in the league, and
especially after having almost an entire season off.
And he only played the second, or he played what, 2 months, 3 months, roughly.
That has not worked for Carey Price though, unfortunately.
I think with Montreal though they didn't really have the strong defenseman unit compared.
Oh no, yeah. We could talk for an hour on Montreal and I could rip them to shreds and it'd be epic.
But the Kings still have Drew Doughty, again an elite defenseman who probably should win more Norris trophies in the future.
Oh, I think you're also seeing a bounce back season from Dustin Brown, especially after having the captaincy taken away from him.
Kopitar.
You're seeing Kopitar with a significant bounce back because there was a lot expected of him last season after he signed that big contract, and he kind of, shriveled under the big spotlight and weight of that contract. And now it seems after having the long summer, he's been able to get his game back.
Well, they went to the playoffs for 7 straight years, almost 8 straight years, and then
Sharks went for like 10. What's your point?
But like, I'm just saying that they went to the Stanley Cup Finals, or they went to the Eastern Conference Finals. What?
Eastern Conference.
Western Conference Finals.
Where do you think LA is, buddy?
Hey. But they went to the Western Conference Finals 3 straight years.
It doesn't stand for Louisiana, buddy.
No shit, AJ. Am I supposed to put this in a swear jar or something?
Sure.
We have a swear jar now? Damn it.
I know. Well, we're trying to get a little more professional here.
Oh, I see. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, I think that left. I think that left when you came on, Ian. Okay.
Oh. I have that effect on people, apparently. I'm here. People are swearing. It doesn't surprise me. Let's be honest.
But I do expect Dustin Brown's production to go down. I think he's just on a hot streak right now. But Kopitar is still a great centerman. I think he was just like the rest of the Kings last year, injury plague. And you're starting to see that entire unit, that top 2 lines come together with youth to re-energize them, just like the Sharks in 2015, which is kind of scary.
Well, and I mean, it is a cliche, but sometimes cliches happen for a reason. That how many times have you seen it where a guy has one of his best years when it's his contract year, when he's due to sign a deal at the end of that year, and he'll have one of his worst seasons after the first year that he signed his big deal. You know what I mean?
I get you.
It's a cliche. Look at Brent Burns. I mean, Norris Trophy, amazing, and started this season, and it hasn't been great for the Wookiee, and we would all hope that, conversely, how we think Dustin Brown will come back to earth, I think we would also imagine that Brent Burns will heat up and get his game back shortly. Again, I go back to the thing of hey, you know what? Take him out of his comfort zone, park his fat ass in front of a goalie once in a while like they used to do with Bufflin, see what happens.
I think something too that is really below the radar when it comes to Dustin Brown, especially I think the lack of Daryl Sutter might be a contributing factor to Dustin Brown's resurgence. I mean, it could be coincidence, but I don't. But to me, it's something that I think deserves some serious thought. Sutter obviously and him were on the outs. He lost the captaincy, and Sutter had some rough times in LA. They locked him out of the dressing room one time. So I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if the lack of even though the coach that's there now, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, and this is a big. No one will ever forgive me for this, but I mean, he was the associate coach before, so it's not like he's a new face, but obviously he's a different voice, and I think that that's helped Dustin Brown incredibly.
Totally.
Yeah. I mean, and we've seen what Sutter likes in players, and some players he doesn't like. We saw how much more ice time Mike Ricci, Scott Thornton, Scott Parker. Those kind of guys got ice time under Sutter here with the Sharks, and yet Alexander Koryuk was in the doghouse, and then once Ron Wilson came in, all of a sudden you had this really nice line of Marleau, Solani, and Koryuk that was working really well for the Sharks for quite a while.
So we need a new coach to see what Barclay Goodrow can do, is what you're saying.
Evidently, yes.
Goodrow, Hurdle, Couture.
Yeah, the Sharks just get a new coach, and Goodrow is the heir apparent to Joe Thornton, is what I'm saying. So I think it's time to wind it down. Again, we do this after every Sharks game, kids, and sometimes we're lucky enough to be the only ones on because it's a national game. I don't think that is the case tomorrow, so be it, but that's why we've had a lot of Wednesday games lately. Yeah. So do us a favor, if you would, please. Hit the subscribe button. Hit your notifications. Let you know the next time we're on. Again, please follow us, Teal Town USA, on Twitter. We also have a pretty fun Instagram. So check all of those out if you would, please. Subscribe to our social media. That's all we ask. We do this for free. Come on, we're not charging you. We're
That's
not
right.
like The Athletic, damn it. No, I'm kidding.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
Kidding.
True.
Not trying to piss anybody off. So, again, happy Veterans Day, everyone. The Sharks let the Vancouver Canucks leave with a 5-2 loss. Again, our positive vibes go out to Sharks broadcaster Jamie Baker. Hopefully, somebody lets us know what's going on with that. So, other than that, thanks for tuning in. We will see you tomorrow night after Sharks versus Kings. Take it easy, guys. Good night.